everyone. Today we're looking at a clogged culvert pipe as a result of the beavers. This road is very slippery today. Anyways, look what we've come across. This is a snowmobile trail. Snowpack is not deep enough yet for them to be using it. You need a good solid foot on the ground for them to pack and groom. Check it out. There's a beaver dam right there. That's why this water's built up and it's like not moving very fast. This whole thing is starting to back up, and by the evidence here, it looks like beavers often will flood this whole woods. See these series of canals right here? They actually excavate those canals themselves so they can get through the forest before they flood the whole thing. It's to keep themselves safe. But look at the end of the culvert pipe. Right there. They even have a grate on the other end so the beavers can't come up. Now that bypass pipe is there because they expect the beavers to clog it up. Let me show you guys this before we go over to the other side of the road to show you how flooded it is. Check it out. It's a full bridge, but they have this thing here because underneath the bridge is kind of clogged up. Let me get underneath here to show you guys. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Never seen anything like it. The water's just allowed to seep through the large 5 and 6 inch gravel. Really cool. If you're wondering why the water's that tint of brown, it's just rotten wood, rotten materials, stuff like that. Now let's get across the street. So I can show you guys the flooded area. So this is really cool. See right here? Oh, this rock with the water flowing underneath it. So it even accepts water from the roadway to come in through the top. But look at this. Wow. There's a whole whirlpool here. Isn't that cool? Love seeing that. So there definitely is a blockage down here. The water's only a foot below the street's crown at its lowest point. Right here you can see there's like clearly, but I mean at the lowest dip, it's pretty close. So that could cause frost heaves in the wintertime. Right now, whoa, I can hear ice cracking like crazy right now. We didn't even touch a thing, but you can see the raised ice. This thing's dropping just by itself, and here's why. Yesterday was actually 55 degrees in this area, believe it or not, despite how it may look. There was a huge thaw yesterday and a whole bunch of rain. That means the water was up. And last night it went from 50 degrees down into the 20s. As a cold front came through, it just plunged overnight the temperatures back down. And as it stopped raining, the water level is now dropping. That's why everything's cracking. But the good news is it never went across the street. I've never seen a structure like this where underneath the road is rock for it to go through. And you got the culvert pipe too. Very, very cool. I don't know if you guys can see. Look how deep that whirlpool goes underwater. See if we can throw something into there safely. Actually, it doesn't look like there's much of a blockage here today. Let's just grab some crusty snow. A bunch of clumps of crusty snow. Throw it into the whirlpool. Oh, is that one gonna get in there? Oh, so close. But I hear that nice crack. Let's try to get some more in there. Oh my gosh, it got sucked all the way down. Did you see that? Look at those pieces getting sucked all the way down. Wow, it's getting sucked all the way down underwater. Oh, that one's too buoyant. It can't get it. Oh, but it's spinning like crazy. Oh. Until that melts, the whirlpool might be wrecked. Oh. It's pulling it down. It's pulling it down into the culvert. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Whoa, more ice cracking, more. Well, that thing has a lot of current to be able to suck it down like that. This water actually does look pretty deep. If I'll have to jump in there, I might get stuck down there. It's called Delta P for you, differential pressure. Just trying to see, whoa, how deep it really is. It's actually not that deep. It's only about 3 feet of water in there. But I love that Whirlpool. Let's try to give it something else. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Sucking it in. Now that piece might be too buoyant. It can't even get it. Oh, watch. Maybe it'll build speed like the other one and get it under. Oh. If it clears, I'm gonna just work on smaller pieces. I love how it sucked them right in. All right, I think we had enough of this. That piece is too buoyant. Yeah. It'll melt it eventually, or it'll waterlog it enough where it gets sucked in. Pretty cool Whirlpool here. You can see right here the moving water is not freezing as it's getting directed to the culvert. Love seeing this, and I'm actually not seeing any debris here, so that means they must be keeping good maintenance. The water's only close to the road because yesterday it rained a lot, and as you can see by the evidence, at least from the ice cracking evidence, we dropped about 6 inches since the flood water started reducing, and it's just going to continue to drop. Oh, look what the Whirlpool did. Look what this Whirlpool did here. The big chunk is right here off to the side. It like floated over there and the Whirlpool started moving again. Oh, look, is that piece gonna go in there just by itself? Oh, oh, woo. Oh, nope. It got it down there a few inches, then it let go. All right, Whirlpool, we had some fun. Time for me to get moving. Just imagine what the beavers must be thinking as they hear these giant crashes of ice in here. Pretty cool. Anyways, out here I see at least one gigantic lodge out there. So even if this wasn't unclogging, we could do, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like any clog. It's basically acting as a retention pond. The culvert's just not big enough to handle all the surge. Good news is there's no evidence it ever crossed the street. It looks like it was only 6 inches above where it was from all the ice formations. Never dismantle a beaver dam in the winter because it will affect the beavers negatively. A lot of times DOT road crews, they are forced to do it during the winter time without a trapper, because otherwise it would take out the road, costing millions of taxpayers' money. But when you take out a beaver dam, no, it does not directly kill the beavers. What that means is you're going to drain their pond, and their lodge is going to have openings, making them vulnerable to predators. The cold won't kill them. They're swimming around here under freezing ice all winter. They don't hibernate. Sometimes they'll even come out in the winter, out of the pond, walking through the woods. I've caught them on trail cameras, although they don't like to. It opens them up to predators, and that's what the dangerous part is of draining their pond during the winter time. Now, you'll see on my channel, it's very rare when we will remove a beaver dam in the wintertime. And when we do it, there's never a lodge. We only remove secondary ponds. What I mean by that is beavers usually have one lodge in their territory. So yes, they can have multiple ones, but it's not as common. See, they have this pond. Across the street, they got another dam making this pond. And they'll make dozens of tiny little ponds. In a lot of cases, the big pond that's causing the issue with the pond, the big pond that's causing the issue with the road doesn't actually have their home in it. So it doesn't negatively affect them in that sense. They may have food reserves in there, but it won't affect their home, making them vulnerable to predators. All right, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And it looks like no need for the road crews to even do anything here, because this will be dropped back by the end of the day now that everything froze up again. That's why we have like no snow, because we got like an inch last night as the rain switched over to snow briefly, because we had a cold front come through and everything just flash froze. That was so cool. Alrighty, we're going to be heading out of here now that we checked on this culvert. There's a few more problematic ones we're going to check while we're still in this area. Then we're going to head down to a place that doesn't have any snow today, because they're a little lower elevation. Alright, it's actually not that cold now. It's about 10 in the morning. Temperature in here, or outside, is reading 28 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just under freezing. It's a big drop right here on the edge of the asphalt, which could indicate where it does cross. Because I know during the spring thaw it probably does cross. That's a fairly small culvert, and the rock stuff they have with it floating through. Yes, the rocks, water is floating through it, but also at the same time, I believe those rocks are more there so it doesn't wash out as the water crosses over the road in the spring. I think it's meant to float over during the spring thaw, but as you saw, there was a big drop of missing pavement, because it does flood over by that evidence. But today there was nothing wrong. Can't do anything about an undersized culvert. Let's take a look at the beautiful mountains up here today. Beavers are probably happy indeed that the water is dropping back, because last night their lodge was probably more underwater than it was supposed to be. Now it's going to drop back to their norm within a few hours, just naturally. The small culvert pipe is causing it to be a retention pond, but the road is built nicely. It's not going to cause damage except the erosion to the side, but that's pretty easily fixed if the DOT does it in a timely manner. All they have to do is edge it, and by there, that's a small project. They don't even need a machine. They just gotta get a dump truck and a wheelbarrow, and they can use some sand mixed with 3/4 inch gravel, and that is self-packing. Don't need any machinery. Pretty nice. Hopefully all the snowmobile trails around here will be open again soon. Need a good foot of snow. This area had only 4 inches of snow before yesterday's thaw. No, more like 4 or 6, somewhere around there. Depends. It's all up and down. The elevation here, there's so many hills. Your neighbor a mile away could have a few inches of snow more than you just because they're on top of a hill. That's how it works around here. But a very beautiful sunny day. Check it out, everybody. We're back after the next thaw. It's now once again really warm out. 55 degrees today. Down here, this was all underwater last time. That Beaver Dam isn't holding up a lot like it was. Let's look at the water. It's crystal clear. Let's look at this giant hole. Water must pour into here sometimes by going over the road. But just take a look at the culvert, barely anything coming out of it. Let's go underneath. So far, this is a real bad year for snowmobilers. We get a few inches of snow, completely melts. A few inches of snow, completely melts. It keeps going from hot, cold, hot, cold. Look at the amount of debris in the end of that thing that needs to be picked out. That would require the maintenance guy, he has to cut a bunch of giant zip ties to get that thing out of there. And then you see the sideways poles to make sure it doesn't come out. All of them would have to be dismantled. Looking pretty good. Now wait until everyone sees across the street what has happened since we were here during the last freeze. Does not even look like the same place, does it? Look how much the water has dropped. I never could have believed it was going to drop this much, probably a good 3 feet. So this basically works as a retention pond, which is totally awesome. But the beavers are pretty angry. They must get so excited, because last time the water was right up to here. They must get so excited when it fills up and not wonder what's happening when it drains. Look at the fence. It's completely mangled from ice hitting it. And that's the culvert in there. Now, about 2 days, it's gonna freeze again at this point. Looks awesome. Ice is pretty thin though. No structural integrity. Actually, right now that it's warm out, you can hear a bunch of ice still cracking as it collapses. It's warm out, all this sheets of ice are collapsing. They're so thin. Look how thin they are. The ice was this high up to the road. Very little structural strength. Beavers are very beneficial animals to the environment. When they create those giant ponds, it creates so much habitat for aquatic life and aquatic plants. In the process, it kills many trees. But those trees being killed also have their own purpose for different animals that like to live in dead trees, and they'll become more material for the beaver lodge, and as they rot, they'll actually put nutrition back into that swamp. Now, beavers create big ponds, and that's a lot of pressure pushing down in the earth, and it refreshes the aquifer. It also helps during a drought as a reserve. It keeps it there, keeps the ground table fairly high, so it helps prevent wildfires. If you have a bunch of beaver ponds around, it keeps the ground dry. It keeps the trees nice, wet, and healthy, so they don't burn as easily if a wildfire was to occur. Beavers are very beneficial, but sometimes they do cause issues to roadways, and you got to think about it this way. If you let the beavers build there and it takes out the road, you're now going to have to spend probably a few $1 million fixing that road, depending on what DOT does it and how it's done. Could only be a few $100,000, but it's still a lot of money regardless. Now you have all that dirt and sand and asphalt downstream that you know is going to be there for a long time. Asphalt itself takes nearly 100 years to decompose. Although, yes, it does decompose, but it takes 100 years. And now you have all that sand and silt messing up the downstream riverbed. Not a good thing. And if the road's gone, now the beavers have nothing to build against, so both sides lose. But back there, they created a beaver structure so both can live with each other to an extent, unless the beavers try to plug that. But usually those systems, if maintained, are pretty successful. Some people try to say in my comments that removing a beaver dam is such a bad thing. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that if it doesn't affect a roadway like this. We know how to do that stuff safely. We'll go in there and remove it, but if the beavers aren't removed, the problem is just going to persist forever. Beavers don't give up. Well, they do, but it's rare. You'd have to be there unclogging it like every single day, because if you just unclog it once a month, they're going to assume it was natural causes and just rebuild. We always try to be as much of a friend to the beavers as possible, and if the beaver dam is not affecting a roadway, we will not remove it. In fact, if it's not affecting a roadway or a culvert, it's actually illegal to remove a beaver dam. Beavers are not endangered animals. You can get hunting permits to remove beavers, but you got to keep in mind, the amount of water and dam building one beaver can do is actually worth millions of dollars compared to a $20 pelt. So it's much better to relocate the beavers to an area that's like prone to wildfires and dryness, because they will help solve that issue. Lots of people have said in my comments and things about me that what I do is negative to the environment, but just search on my channel. There is not one video of myself removing a beaver dam that's not affecting a culvert or roadway in some way. You're not gonna find one. Extremely beautiful out in the mountains today. Fairly clear skies. Remember everybody, beavers are very beneficial animals, and their beaver dams should not be removed unless it's affecting your property, and if you're trained to do it on roadways. I've had many hours of OSHA training, and I've done this a few times with private companies, and that's where I got all my training from. Private companies over the years. A lot of people think what I do is dangerous, and they're right. Without proper training, it can be extremely dangerous. And that always pisses me off when I see people making YouTube videos removing beaver dams in the middle of nowhere. They do it for no other reason than trying to get views off it. It does not affect the roadway in any means. I always see that stuff, and I always see people creating clogs themselves, because I can tell when a clog is created by itself. I really hate when people try to do that stuff. Hope this video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, today we're on the river and it's frozen. It's like a slushy or a snow cone. That's what you call Frazzle Ice. Isn't that cool? Look at this. Literally snow cone material, just floating by everywhere. Look at this. Put my hand out, collect a whole ton of it. So cool. Frazzle Ice, that's what it does when it's in the process of freezing over. Fast moving water, they can't get a sheet, so this is what it is. It's flowing slush until it gets cold enough to completely freeze. Pretty cool. Hey everyone, today we're here at this culvert clog. We got a puddle right here. Gonna grab my foot, get a little groove going over to the culvert, and then unclog the culvert. There it is, blockage on the small culvert. But that's not what's holding it up at all. The blockage is forming more on the other side. Then we'll get this puddle to drain efficiently. You'll see it's coming out right here. And it kind of looks like a miniature beaver dam, just the way the debris is all around the edge of the puddle. Just got to knock that down a bit. Break that dam down. There we go. Got a lot more coming out. Try to dig with my heel deep in there. Get the trench dug out a lot more, so everything can get out of the culvert. Much better flow. And that'll start getting rid of the puddles. Back on the other side, you see, it's starting to go in a lot faster now because it has more elevation loss on the other side, so it can actually get out of the culvert. And now the puddles will start to drain back here on the street. Yep, getting rid of that puddle. Raining a good amount out today. And we got the culvert working again.